Meeting Doctor here. I realized in a previous video, I think the one about hybrid meetings and how they're basically the same in terms of objective or semi-objective satisfaction and effectiveness. They're basically the same as face-to-face and virtual in terms of the level of satisfaction and effectiveness of the meeting. And I mentioned that teleconference is particularly terrible. I want to talk a little bit more about that because I want to kind of ask a question and then answer the question. The question is, what is the difference between a virtual meeting with all the cameras off and a teleconference which doesn't have cameras? Think about that. Now, I'm sure there's someone who's seeing this. At least I hope there's someone who's seeing this, who's thinking, well, a virtual meeting you can share a screen, you can use chat, you can use the reactions. Okay, so yes, there are some capabilities in the virtual space that a teleconference does not have. You can't say, well, look at this, on a teleconference. They're not looking at that. They can't see that. But in a virtual meeting with cameras off, you could say, look at my slide or look at what I'm showing you on the screen or whatever. So there is that. So that's a meaningful difference. I'll agree to that. But the meaningful difference that actually has an effect on the processes and outcomes of the meeting between a virtual and a teleconference is that capability of turning the camera on. Like you see me right now, you can see me leaning in, you can see me leaning back, you can see me scratching on the side of my head. You can see those nonverbal communication things, and that communicates things to you. In a teleconference, there's no capability to do that. And so that is the distinction that actually drives the bad that we get when we do a teleconference. A teleconference is, in scientific terms, a full standard deviation worse than hybrid, virtual, with cameras on, and face-to-face meetings in terms of voice being shared, so sharing your ideas, satisfaction with the overall meeting, effectiveness of the overall meeting, and I could go on. Pretty much everything you want to have, it's worse, and everything you don't want to have, there's more of in a teleconference than there is in a virtual meeting with cameras on and hybrid and face to face, right? So bottom line, I know I've said this before, I feel like a bit of a broken record here, but if you have a choice between those three modalities, virtual, hybrid, or face to face, and teleconference, always choose one of the other three because it's always going to be overall better, particularly when you put the cameras on. Now, there's other videos you can check out. I do have some caveats and some qualifying statements about cameras on, cameras off. And we'll actually get more into that with some of my latest research that I'm doing with one of my students, Gracie Winder. There's some really exciting, interesting things, particularly related to neurodiverse individuals and camera usage. So we'll get into that more later. But bottom line is, don't do a teleconference. It's not a good idea.